series, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about integrating technology in the university classroom. Very different from the P12 classroom. We know as adult students, we're looking for different things in terms of technology integration. We also know that we now have a generation in our university classrooms that does not know life without technology. So, the main question of the day is, how do we integrate technology effectively on the university level? And our secondary question is, how do we do that for teacher education candidates? How do we emphasize this idea that they need to integrate technology into their classrooms? So we're going to play a little game. Okay, this is getting to know you technology style. I'd love for you to take out your smartphones and play along, if you will. I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to ask you to vote. We are going to use an application, and it's not anything you have to download. It's internet-based with your messaging system called Poll Everywhere. Poll Everywhere is a group polling function that you can use in your classroom. And I'll tell you how to get started. So let's get to know each other in the technology field. If you'll pull up your messaging, or if you'd like to pull up your internet, you can go either way. If you want to text your reply, please text Dr. Dusty Reed to the number on the screen, or you can pull up your internet and go to pollev.com/Dr. Dusty Reed. Our first question is, considering the term educational technology, what 3 words come to mind? So on instinct, when I say ed tech, what pops up? Oh, let's go back. What'll happen with Poll Everywhere is you'll enter what's called My Room, and we'll stay in that room for quite some time. So you text Dr. Dusty Reed to that number. It'll say that you've been accepted into the room, and then you can start texting your 3 words. Oh, nice. There we go. Enhancement, necessary, classroom. Smartphones, interactive, engaging. A powerful tool. So the idea behind this tool that we're using is to brainstorm thoughts, to kind of get the ideas going in your classroom. This is Poll Everywhere, and we are on word cloud mode. Patty, if you don't mind, would you please text engaging, classroom, and interactive? Watch what happens when Patty repeats the words. They go through? So there we go. The more the word appears, or the more your audience types in the word, the larger the words get. And you can very quickly pick out themes in your classroom of what your students are thinking and get the general temperature of what's going on in your room. So for me, when I hear the word ed tech or educational technology, it's engagement in great big bold letters. It's powerful and it is interactive, and that's what we're hoping to look at today. Okay, now Dr. Patmore, Dr. Lyons, put yourself back into your university classroom days, okay? On an average, how many times do you think you use technology in the classroom in an average academic week, but that excludes projection? Okay, so it has to be more than just projection. I have at least one or two in the room that I know this will be a little bit higher. Yeah. There we go. There we go. I would say because I am a technology teacher that I'm somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. A majority of your university professors are actually going to fall in that 0 to 2 range. Okay, so besides projection, and I happen to have a lot of exceptions in the room that work with special education technology that teaches technology classes for Jenny and Patty, it's typically not as popular once you get to the university level. Now, following that question up, and I would say the results will be about the same, if you are making assignments to your students, on average during the week, how many times do those assignments or activities require them to use technology beyond Canvas? I'll take that, sure. Yeah, can't do that on Canvas. If we included Canvas, it would be an everyday thing. So excluding Canvas, what do you think? I like it. Amazing that we expect our students to use more technology than we are usually willing to use. And that is a trend. It is a theme that we see frequently at the university level, and it is very, very true. Very true that we expect more from our students than we do from ourselves in terms of ed tech. Let's have one more. On an average day, how many social media accounts do you use? Now again, I'm sitting with some exceptions in the room. Social media includes Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube sometimes is considered social media. Twitter, Instagram, okay. I bet I could guess who the 5 or more are in the room. I just happen to have a good knowledge of some of the folks in the room, so I bet we could talk about that. I'm in the 3, 4 range, and some days 5 with that. Your students, 4 or 5 minimum. 5 is the most popular choice among college students. They have at least 5 social media accounts that they access every single day. We are dealing with adults that do all of their collaboration in virtual environments. Very interesting when you pull up the professor-student ratio to this question as well. So just some facts. Here's some things to kind of ponder. Considering teachers, when I say teachers, I'm talking about our teacher candidates, our public school teachers, P12, no further than 12 just yet. 96% of those teachers think that the technology is important. 96% says that it increases student engagement, that it forces our students to be engaged in our classroom practices. 79% believe that technology makes a big difference in learning. 86% think that it's important or absolutely essential. Couldn't live without it. %86% of the principals say that technology is important or very important, so they are in agreement with teachers. If we move to our K-12 students, now this is our student population that we're putting teachers who serve out there. By the end of elementary school, 46% of students have a smartphone. If that doesn't make you think, holy cow, 5th graders, guys, 5th graders, half of the 5th grade class will walk out with a smartphone before middle school. What did you say, Jennifer?
In my daughter's 3rd grade class, I mean, more than a handful.
Oh, yeah. 72% at middle, and then 68 at high. I thought that was kind of strange. It kind of went up and back down. I don't know if maybe we're just behaving badly and parents are taking those away at the moment, or what happened with this survey, but I have a feeling that that's probably a little different than what's portrayed at at this survey at that time. What really hit home with me with those numbers, my son started using an iPad as an assistive technology device at 2 years old and has had one ever since. And he writes on it. He dictates his answers to his questions on it. He was able to make that iPad do things that I could not do as a technology teacher. I was like, guys, where did you find that? Oh, Mom, it's here, here, and here. Okay, got it. So if we think about that, are we putting out teachers that are prepared to take 46% of 5th grade students and use the technology that they have? As early as 2013, 59% of students reported using social media for educational purposes. We're not talking about just logging onto Facebook. At least almost 60% of our students are getting onto those social media accounts to talk about school, to talk about educational things. This one probably not so much of a surprise for you all. Jamie, group projects, how do they collaborate?
They collaborate through their technology.
Yeah.
Collaborate.
Google tools, Facebook groups, Canvas groups, and the list goes on and on and on. There's at least 3 or 4 apps out now for smartphones that'll do group chats. My students are all over that.
Yeah, they don't want to talk in person. They don't want to talk in person.
No, they don't have to anymore. Probably choosing not to in some instances. Our university students, so these are the students we're teaching right now. 38% of undergraduate college students say they can't go more than 10 minutes without looking at their device. 10 minutes. So, and I know this is a thing, right? You have a student and they're looking down in their lap and they're laughing. Anyone who does not think that that student is sitting there texting has lost their mind. We do not look at our lap and just randomly laugh, okay? They are going to check the devices, they are going to use the devices, and it's not going to matter what that professor sets up for that student to do. So for me, and I hope for you all when you leave, it's the idea of let's embrace what they have. They're bringing the smartphones to class. Use Poll Everywhere, pull up some things for them to answer. Use some of the applications, pull up a quiz or a set of questions for them to use as you're going through your presentation. But guys, at least 40% of your class is going to check their phone at some point during your lecture, whether you like it or not. So what can we do with that to harness that powerful time that they're spending?
I will add one thing to that.
Please.
I did a classroom observation this semester. Every student but 1 or 2 had a laptop. They're all, so I went to the back of the room.
Start looking around.
Well, no, that's the plug. You guys would, I'd love to see what they were looking at. Most of them were Canvas or email. But what I observed was, I would disagree with you having them do a quiz while you're talking to them, because they think they can multitask,
And maybe they can't.
You know that that's psychologically. And so what was occurring was when the professor would get rolling, they were kind of with her, kind of not with her. The only ones that were really with her and asking questions were 2 kids that didn't have their laptops.
There you go.
They were really kind of engaged. So actually, it was an example of how digital device definitely reduced engagement.
10 minutes that they can't resist.
So they were submitting assignments through Canvas.
Well, yeah, and not necessarily with that course. I mean, we're talking 2 courses ago in the day. Absolutely.
They kind of look, and then something probably got on Yahoo.
I have some tools coming up, Dr. Lyons. Let's revisit that idea, because I have some tools I can show you that will make your presentation interactive, where you stop at a certain point and they give you feedback as you're going along, and it's looking at their screen and at yours. Let's revisit that idea. Okay, according to students from this survey in 2014, engagement increases up to 77% with course materials like Canvas, other LMS systems, up to 64% with professors. I'm not surprised with that one because now we talk to our students mostly electronically. Office hours are definitely dwindled in comparison to years past, and then 50% with other students. I would say that numbers probably went up just a little bit. So who cares, right? What are we producing? Are we using technology to engage students? Are we using the technology to encourage individual learning and growth? Are we facilitating that peer collaboration? Are we preparing students for the real world? And are we creating more engaged and successful teachers? And that really is the challenge. So I have a source and an article that goes along with this idea. If you're interested in it, I can send it to you. But there's some research behind it that says if used appropriately, these things will start to come into play. If technology is used appropriately in the university classroom. Now, there is the other side of that where not all students can handle it, as we've talked about. But it's that whole idea that we're pushing out teachers who are prepared to use technology in their classrooms. Requirements for education in university. When I started putting this together, I was surprised at how many of these immediately came to mind. Now, a little bit easier, I teach educational technology classes, Patty does, Jenny travels. I mean, this is kind of where we're at. But we're not getting away from it. It's not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to increase. Right now at the university level, of course, CAPE. We just finished our CAPE accreditation. We're not quite finished yet, but we are done with the visit and things like that. One of our main themes was technology. You have to show that cross-cut technology theme across the CAPE standards. How are we doing that? Each of the education or prep programs have to have technology-based dispositions. They have to have a set of things that their students are required to walk out with as teacher candidates in the area of technology. We're working on that currently. We've been working with the KTS Standard 6 for many, many years. That's still there. Kentucky Teacher Standards. Our students have to meet those standards. All of Standard 6 is technology. Moving on through, did you know that Danielson, all 4 domains, has a technology element? You just have to find it. Okay, it's cross-cut. It doesn't stick out to you, but they're all there. The Kentucky Academic Standards. This one usually surprises people. When you think of the Kentucky Academic Standards, you typically think of science, social studies, reading, math, practical living. There is a set of technology standards for elementary, middle, and high that our teachers are responsible for teaching. High school, you usually have some technology classes, maybe even middle school. Elementary school, it's very rare that they have a technology class. A lot of times teachers, general education teachers, are responsible for teaching those technology standards to their students. Really interesting when I bring this one up to our undergraduate and even my graduate level students, they'll go, oh, I didn't know those were there. So that's something that is not really being brought to attention, but we're still being held responsible for. And then, of course, the big one where we're headed right now, this is gaining a lot of steam in all of the schools. We're starting to look at how this integrates into our classes here at Murray State, and that's 21st century skills. The 4 C's are kind of their big themes that you start working around: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. I would almost wager that right now, just going around the room, we could come up with at least 2 or 3 ways that we can use technology to do any of those. I can see the wheels in Patty's head turning already. I mean, no kidding.
Where do you think the new ISTE teacher standards fit in there?
We'll see. I've looked at those a time or two. We'll see where they go. It's definitely a little bit of a different path than what we've seen in the past. But again, getting back to 21st century skills, I think that's where the focus is going to be, and that's where they're headed. Yeah. We're getting new ISTE standards, at least on the teacher end. There's 2 primary models for technology integration. And several more out there, but these are the two that you see most often. These are the two that we try to teach and encourage our students to use. The first is the most popular, it's the SAMR model. Okay. I've heard that pronounced all as one word and I can't do it correctly, Patty. SAMR. I've heard it SAMR, SAMR. I've heard lots of pronunciation, so I just say SAMR. Kathy Shamrock related the SAMR model to a cup of coffee. At the substitution level, it's still just a cup of coffee. Writing a report on a computer using Microsoft Word is just a substitute for using paper pencil. Okay? Still a cup of coffee. Augmentation is where the tech tool acts as a direct tool substitute, but with functional improvement. So this is my latte. It's still a cup of coffee, but it has just a little bit of additive to it that I can transform it. So this is doing a presentation with Prezi versus Microsoft PowerPoint. Okay, Prezi can do a little bit more in terms of zooming in and out and animation and some things like that. Modification is where tech allows a significant redesign of the task. Drawing models, creativity, what can we make? How can we use app smashing to come up with a totally different product? That is your caramel macchiato, so it's just a step above that latte. And then redefinition is where tech allows for the creation of new tasks that are completely and previously inconceivable. This is 3D printing. We never really wrapped our head around the idea that one day a $200 printer was going to print tools, bolts that you could put into a machine. And now that's happened. The technology has made something impossible completely possible. And Kathy says that's the pumpkin spice latte that everybody likes at the certain time of year. That's the SAMR model. We use it a lot with our undergraduate students just to give them a general idea. When we get into the modification and redefinition modes, we really like for students to have choice. And that's a big thing that I'll push with my undergraduate students is, are you giving your students choice? Do they have to do this in presentation? Can they create an infograph or a flyer instead? Can they do something else with it? Can they build a 3D model? What can they do to change this? This is the TPACK model. It's the second most used model. It is quite a bit more complicated. I won't fully go into it, but it's the idea that you have to have these various facets of technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge that overlap at a certain point to get the more or less perfect classroom model. If you're interested in models for technology integration, after you move past SAMR, look up TPACK. A lot of research on this one, some really cool implications for the classroom. Multiple authors have really stepped into this model, and this is being used on the national and international level right now. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. So, take a picture, write it down, or pull it up, whichever you prefer. This is a copy of the presentation that I'm using today. And when I go to the next slide, you'll see why it's important to have a copy of this presentation. When we get through the next set of slides, you'll have roughly 40 to 50 tools that you can use in your university classroom for various purposes. As we go through the slides, you'll see pictures of the tools, and if you click on the pictures, it'll take you to the tool. So hopefully you walk away with at least one tool today that is new to you that you want to try, or at least you're curious about, and you can call the Kate team and say, hey, I want to think about this, okay, and they'll get you started. All of the tools are separated into categories. And all the categories have 3 to 4 tools apiece. I'll tell you a little bit about them. If we have time, I'll take a request to look at a few of them. And again, if you bring the presentation up and you actually click on the pictures, it'll take you to the tool. So you can immediately get started with whichever tool you're interested in. Our first category of tools is collaborative learning. Really like this idea. There's lots of different ways to take collaborative learning. I went the bulletin board route. So think about your common everyday bulletin board that you find in any classroom. You can stick stuff on it with your pen boards or your sticky notes. This does the same thing but in virtual ways. These virtual bulletin boards can be worked on by a whole class of students, by small groups of students, and they're a great tool for using for research project groups, for assessment exit slip type things, to brainstorm ideas. Anything that you could do on sticky notes, you could do on a virtual bulletin board. They're easy to use, super easy to set up. If you were going to start with one, I would suggest that you start with Lino. It's my favorite. A lot of teachers really like Padlet. I'll tell you the difference between Lino and Padlet, and that's money. Okay? So Padlet you can use for 30 days for free. If you like Padlet, go try Lino. It's free for teachers every day, all day long, okay, with no restrictions. And most of the tools that I'll show you today at least have a free trial or are free every day, all day. That's the ones I prefer anyway. Again, these are great for project-based learning. You can post links, pictures, videos, and it's just this one board that everyone's adding to. Really neat experience to get small groups of students on these and let them really explore a concept with it. Okay, back channel chats. Anyone remember AOL, dial-up? Yeah, chatting was like a huge thing for a long time. And we don't see chatting as much now because we have instant messaging on our phones. So yes, you have students from one side to the other talking to each other during class. Take advantage of that idea. Pull up a back channel chat. This is a chat screen, and through back channel chats, you can communicate with your students and your students can communicate with you. These are great for, also great for big group meetings. A lot of times when I've been presenting with the Kate team, we'll pull up a back channel chat, and that's where people will put their questions. And we'll stop at certain intervals and we'll answer questions. It's also a great way to post links for your students, to post resources. When Jenny, Patty, and Jennifer and I were all presenting at KISTI, we had this pulled up and we were posting links to every little resource that we were talking about, and our participants could go on and click on the links. Your students can do the same thing. The nice thing about back channel chats is that you can find ones of varying control. If I was working with a college group or a group at a professional presentation, today's Meet is fine. It doesn't have a lot of control, but it has enough. I set up a room, you enter it, we talk. Okay. If I was dealing with elementary school students, though, I would go with back channel chat. Okay. The big box there, back channel chat. I can print transcripts when we're done. So if I had a student that missed class, I can actually print that out and they can read it. I can save sessions. I can reopen them. I can kick people out. I can correct behavior. Lots of control with back channel chat. Little bit of control with today's Meet, so explore those. Students think this is fun. They really do. Adult participants think this is fun. Anytime we pull one of these up, it's always used. And Patty, please correct me do you remember a time that we've tried some of these and have not had feedback?
Always.
Yeah. Jenny, I know you use these a lot too. We're always getting questions, or what do you do with this, or how about that, or people that maybe do not want to add to the conversation in your classroom will add like this. It's really amazing to watch. So try a back channel chat.
What's the P?
The P, that is a tablet application. I forget the exact name of it, but it's like a back channel chat for iPads. And I tried to include at least one mobile app on most of the screens here. So for those of you that really like tablets, Jamie, for your, especially special education students, we're always looking for iPad apps that we can do the same stuff with. It's group polling. I've been using one of these with you earlier today. I use Poll Everywhere Okay. Poll Everywhere is fun. You get to get audience participation. It's great. They have to type in their response or continue to engage with you. Really good for testing effectiveness or do you get it? I can pop up specific questions about what's going on in the class. I can pop up math questions. I can pop up science or social studies or teacher ed or whatever I want to put up there. And the nice thing about this and where we get the most effectiveness is that usually it is anonymous. So they will participate. They will give you their true answer because there's no fear of you coming back and going, now, Jennifer, you could have done better than that. Okay. Really neat ones here. So this is Scatterbox that has the quad on it. This one was new for me. It poses 2 levels and they have to do quadrant opinions, which is really, really neat. Not applicable for every subject, but some really cool things that I've been watching with that one. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And then we have Poll Daddy, Answer Garden, and a few others. These are super easy to set up. If you go onto Poll Everywhere, you can post your first question in under 2 minutes and have audience participation. So just like that, no account necessary.
You can also do group polling within PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mix.
And I have my Poll Everywhere slides today I'm using with Google Slides. And it's integrated into my Google Slides presentation. It's on there as a Google Slides extension now. It's really cool. This one is video interaction. And Dr. Lyons, this is where this one and the next screen is going to go back to kind of your question earlier. How do we keep them with us, but also using that technology? Video interaction. Patty's a big fan of Edpuzzle. I am a big fan of Educanon or PlayPosit. They both work equally as well. I will say in this room, I don't know if I will say with 100% confidence, but I'll say at least for myself that I have put on that video, press play, and then turned around and did the dishes before, right? This is the whole idea of taking videos and making them mandatorily interactive. So with Edpuzzle, Educanon, you can take a video that you already have. It can be a YouTube video that's open for public use. It can be a video that you've created. You upload it to the software, and then you hit pause and you insert a question. Okay. Really neat. You can insert a question. They have to answer it to move on. You can even set it up to where they have to answer it right to move on. So they have to rewind the video, watch it again, answer the question right, and then the video moves forward. This is great for flipped classroom models. If you're wanting students to watch videos before they come to class, it's great for ensuring that your students are engaged in your videos, great for online graduate courses, because it does make them mandatorily engage with the video. Really neat tools. I highly encourage you to use that one if that's something you're interested in, something you use a lot. Okay, here's the one that really speaks a little bit more to the interactive face-to-face classroom. This is lecture engagement or presentation engagement. With these tools like Office Mix, Nearpod, and Pear Deck, I load my presentation in and then I put questions throughout the presentation. Some really neat question types. It's not just multiple choice or open-ended. You can draw a dot on the sketch. You can really enter a lot of different things, question types with this. And then you send the code out to your students. Your students then pull up the presentation, and when you hit the right button, they have to go ahead and type in their answer. So it's interactive lecturing, and I hope that speaks, Dr. Lyons, to kind of the topic that you brought up earlier, is how do we keep them with us a little bit more when we're lecturing?
I use Nearpod.
Yeah.
Especially with my cookies.
How do you like that, Jamie?
I like it, and I think they like it because a lot of times with the ITVs, they don't want to press the button to talk because the camera zooms in on them.
And they don't like that.
They don't like that. And this way, it actually makes them be engaged, involved in the lesson.
And that is really challenging in that distance format.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't call on them, they're not going to do anything.
That's right.
This way, they have to participate in the drawing the polling activity, the quiz.
And it will reduce a little bit the extreme multitasking that we see. I have tendency to use these type of applications with groups that don't quite want to stay with me. And I only have to do this a couple of times, and usually that behavior stops, because they know that I'm going to make them answer these formative assessment questions as I'm going throughout the presentation. Office Mix is gaining a lot of steam. I don't have too much experience with that one just yet. I am a Pear Deck and Nearpod user, but Office Mix is really stepping up its game. And it's adding kind of some things over the last little bit. That's something that we have access to, if I'm correct, with our Microsoft Office license. Right, ladies? Is that? Okay, I thought as much. It's a free add-on. Here we go. The blue one appears Nearpod. The other one is a new application that I haven't played too much with yet. But it is a mobile application similar to Nearpod. So that may be one that you want to look into, Jamie.
Because they still can.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, when we're not on a question slide, I can pop that window down. Absolutely.
So they're good at finding.
They are. They certainly are. And they're going to. And you know what, Jamie? I will say, and this is what I teach all of my ed tech students, is it doesn't matter how good you think you are at engaging them with technology, they will find a way around it. They'll find a way around your block, they'll find a way around your firewalls, they'll find a way around everything.
But it's only hurting them.
That's right. That's true. Our next category is game-based assessment. If you have not tried Kahoot, go play one today. It is fun. It's like playing a old-fashioned TV show game. Students, I've watched my college students get in hot competition over a Kahoot game. Oh boy, it gets heated and they get rowdy, but they're learning from each other. They'll start talking to each other about, oh no, it's this one, and especially if you put them in teams, oh my goodness. Yeah, things really go crazy. Kahoot just added a new feature. I'm interested to see where that goes, but it doesn't just have that game-based learning, it also has exit tickets, open-ended questions, but start with a game. If you've never played a Kahoot, please go play one today. It is just too much fun. There's also Quizlet Live, Quizliz. All of these are game-based learning. They're great for review. Wonderful for content review. Rather than doing, a full session with a study guide, create yourself a game. Even at the college level, they love it. Super involved. I've also been out in the schools watching students as young as first grade playing Kahoot. Okay. Quizlet Live is actually gaining a lot of steam right now, so if you're proficient with Kahoot and you like it, you may want to jump over and try Quizlet Live. Quizliz is kind of the underdog in this group, but I've heard some really good things about it as well. There's a few teachers that really stand by this. And teachers in our public schools are picking one and sticking with it. So at least try one if you're new to it. If you've played Kahoot, jump over and try Quizliz instead, or Quizlet Live. Internet-based quizzing. Lots of different things you can do here. We've had lots of training on Google tools here in the College of Education and Human Services. The ladies would be more than happy out of the Kate office to come and work with you on Google tools. My favorite quizzing tool right now is Google Forms. They've actually got a quiz feature on Google Forms now where you can turn it into a full-on graded, self-grading quiz, which is really nice. Some others that I like, Socrative. You can make it into a game, but my students have actually used Socrative for like a full-on summative assessment. It grades a majority of it for me, and then it gives me a question analysis that I really like. It will pop up the student's name on your screen, and it'll turn each question green or red. So as they're taking it, you're getting real live information of who's doing really well and who's really not. You're also getting that question analysis percent at the bottom of each question as soon as everyone's answered that question. So it's live information. The other one that I really like right now is formative. I teach several sessions on formative separately. It is a full-on assessment tool that's internet-based. Formative assessment, summative assessment. What I really like about that one is you can draw on it. Like students can draw in their math shapes, math equations. Also, you can take those good old-fashioned paper assessments, scan them, and enter them right on into formative and make them into an electronic assessment, which is really cool, especially for those that, you know, we have a test that we're just not willing to let go of. I've lost my electronic copy, I have to have this. So you can go electronic with formative if that's something that you're interested in. Lots of tools with this. We could go on with this one for days. I teach whole 2 and 3 hour sessions just on internet-based assessment. Then finally, hopefully, I think with the room I'm sitting with now, everyone's tried this, screencasting. If you have not tried screencasting, I would highly recommend that you do so. Start with Screencastify. That is an add-on to your Chrome browser. It's an extension. Super easy to go to the Chrome store and pick up. And then all you do is set it up, hit go, and it records everything on your computer screen. That can be your PowerPoint. It can be whatever application you're using. It can be your internet browser. You can do that with or without VoiceOver. And with some of the applications, you can even pull up a camera so they can see your face. I used Screencast-O-Matic for a really long time, and then it wasn't wanting to update as much what I did, and that's when I went over to Screencastify, and I've had really good luck with it. The other S there is Snagit by TechSmith. It's a great application. It's a quick download, easy to use. And then ShowMe is an iPad application, Jamie, that works very similar to an interactive whiteboard. And that's a really neat application too. What I really like about this and what I'm hearing from students is when you're doing a fully online graduate course, people who use screencasting give that feeling of interaction. I feel like sometimes in graduate courses I lose touch with my students because I never see their face. I rarely ever get to meet them in person. When I'm doing screencasting and I pull up the camera and let them see my face, I let them hear my voice, it gives that feeling of interaction and almost like you know the person, you're there. And when we hear some of that from our students, we're making those connections that we lack in that area. This is also really great for flipped classroom models. Wonderful for online courses, also for tutorials. If students email me all the time, I just don't understand how to do this. Okay, I pop a few things up on my computer, I start a screencast, and I explain it to them as I'm showing them things on the computer. I email them the link to that screencast, done, got it. Great things. If you've ever watched a lot of tutorials on YouTube, they're using screencasting to do those tutorials. Okay. Really neat tools. If you do not have a good screencasting tool, please invest in one today. Screencastify is free. I would recommend that you start with that one and work your way up. And then, of course, I'm not going to leave this one out, social media. We can't do without it. 40% can't go 10 minutes without checking something on their digital device. Of course, my number one recommendation is always maintain professional and personal accounts and keep those as far away from each other as you can. I have a Pinterest board under dreed5@murraystate.edu, and I have a Pinterest board that is my personal email address. And I keep those things totally separate because that's two separate parts of my life, and I would highly recommend that you do the same. You can do the same with Facebook. You can have a professional Facebook page and a personal Facebook page. Two totally different email accounts, two totally different worlds. Edmodo, if you haven't tried Edmodo before, that is almost like an LMS, a management system like Canvas, but it looks like Facebook. So students kind of like that sometimes. I have in the past maintained several Facebook groups, Facebook pages associated with my professional account. That works really well for my students. Pinterest is great. Sorry to pick on the guys in the room, but I had male graduate students tell me I thought Pinterest was for my wife's recipes. And now I know better because I make all of my graduate students in my technology classes open a Pinterest board. And as soon as they do, it's over. Pinterest is great, but we just don't think about it in terms of the educational realm. The Cade office maintains a full-on Pinterest board of educational strategies, multiple boards within their accounts. If you don't know much about Pinterest, start there. The other one I'll mention is Twitter and YouTube. Remember, if you have a Murray State email account, you have a YouTube account. Make your videos, put them out there for your students. I've made a few different technology videos that I get comments on from around the world. Making a Venn diagram was like my first one. I posted it up there, and now I have someone from a couple of different countries that's commented on it. And you can also have YouTube videos that are just for people who have the links, your students. So I do all kinds of welcome videos for my students in graduate courses that have a camera. They can hear my voice, they can see my face. I do tutorial videos for my students that are having problems, but I post all those screencasting videos that I make on YouTube, and I can determine the privacy settings. Just remember, if you've never fooled with YouTube, you have a Murray State email, that means you have a YouTube. Okay, go log that in. Kate maintains a really good YouTube channel as well. Social media is great for collaboration. This is what they know. This is what they use. This is what they're going to use whether you want them to or not. They are going to talk about all of your assignments on their Facebook page, whether you have anything to do with it. Okay, so harness that. Have your own page for each of your classes. Let them talk in front of your face, not behind you.
What about using, I'm just sitting there thinking about how I use Twitter and like slow Twitter chats. I mean, I would think that would be a really good tool to use in a class.
It is, and so a lot of our students, especially at the graduate level, not so much at the undergraduate, we're still kind of exploring this idea with them because we want to be really careful on how we teach them to use social media. But at the graduate level, we're having students set up Twitter accounts for their classes, and they're tweeting out reminders, almost like they're using Remind that does the instant text message. Students are tweeting out questions and getting answers back. They're doing slow chats. They're doing group book chats on Twitter, which is super cool to watch. Middle school classrooms, I think it was a month or so ago, I had a student who was doing some book talks with a middle school literature class using only Twitter, which was really neat. It takes some setup, but man alive, they were really going crazy with that because it's what they know. It's what they know. You can go onto social media for days. But if that's not something you've edged your way into, maybe you're technology proficient, but this is an area you haven't played with much yet, go ahead and give it a try. Start with a professional Facebook page and see what happens. I think you'll be really surprised at how your students start to collaborate with you and with each other. Sometimes they're much more apt to talk to you electronically versus face-to-face. Social media. And this is just a list of other notable tools. Again, if you pull up the presentation, you can click on any of those tools. They all do different things. Do you remember having to go into the PowerPoint and making your Jeopardy game? There's an online source now that'll do that for you, and you don't have to create it yourself. It's called Jeopardy Labs. Taggle, if you know about Wordle, okay, Taggle, you can put links on all those words. So I could set up a word cloud of vocabulary words, and my students can go on and click on each word and go read about that word. So that's kind of a neat application. This is Sketch TV over here on the side. Think Pictionary electronic style. It's a lot of fun. Students enjoy that one. Seesaw is over in the corner. That is an electronic portfolio system that a lot of our local teachers here in the Murray School District are starting to use. It's really gaining a lot of momentum. I'm really interested to see where that goes. Patty, have you been seeing Seesaw kind of out and about a little bit?
I've been mentioning when I do PD, they're asking me questions. And
About Seesaw?
Some of them are actually saying, yeah, I'm using it, it's really neat.
It's an online portfolio system. I mean, students are building these great big electronic portfolios in third grade. And it's just that early. But all of these apps you can get into as a university teacher, you can use and demonstrate for your students. The only one up there that's a little bit more complicated is Triptycho. It has all these games that you can make and create, but they want a little bit more money than I'm comfortable with. Some teachers really like that one though. Class Tools up at the top. That's my favorite random name selector. Okay, at the beginning, I type in all my students' names and I save it, and then I pull it up on the screen when we're answering questions and it just picks a random name for me, and then I'm not having to worry about if I've picked someone twice. It does it for me. So just a few questions and discussions. I'm going to get us started, and then I'd love for you all to ask or discuss whatever you'd like to add or continue the conversation. So just to add a little bit, what are your favorite things to use in the classroom? Go nuts, Patty. I see the wheels turning. What do you like to use? What do you like to do with technology in your classroom? What have you done in the past? What softwares would you recommend? Plickers, yes, I love Plickers. If you don't know about Plickers, it's actually technology-based assessment without the technology. Only thing the teacher needs is these printed cards and a mobile device, and the students hold the cards certain ways to answer each question, and the teacher scans it, and it pops up who got what answer correct. Really neat. Google Slides to collaborate, screen capture. Google, I'm a big Google fan. Right now, everything's done with Google. I'm learning more and more about what I can do with Google, and as soon, and Patty will probably back me up with this, as soon as we teach Google in 222 and show them that they can collaborate using Google, I have students coming up to me 2 years later going, oh, you remember that Google tool that you showed us? We use that and such today to do this, this, and this. As soon as you show them any kind of Google tool and the collaboration features, they're gone. That's the only thing they'll use from that point on. Google everything. Yep, I agree. Lots of different things we can kind of do with that one. Google Doc and have everyone answer in the same doc. That's fun. Patty will tell you to make sure you have like a number system in place so you don't have 30 people on one doc at one time trying to answer over the top of each other. Yeah. We purposely have put them all into one doc at one time so that they learn that they have to have a structure. It's really fun and interesting to watch. Some other things that I would suggest in terms of what you can use in the classroom with University is get creative. Let your students be creative. There's a lot of times I'll give an assignment, I'll tell them it has to be technology based, and I won't give them a tool or even a list of tools. They'll go out and find their own. And student A has this product using this tool, and student B has something totally different using a different product, and guess what? Both of them hit the mark. It was great. So try not to, when you're using technology in the classroom and giving them those options, let them go with it. Trust me, your students know as much, if not probably more, than most of us sitting in this room. So see what they come up with. My favorite day in our undergraduate technology class is the days that they bring in the tools that they found, and they show me how to use their tools, and we show each other. And that's a lot of fun. And you know, they'll find things that will blow your mind. They really will. Digital storytelling, woohoo.
I think
Kahoot got misspelled. I was gonna say, I don't know that one. Digital storytelling is very popular right now as well, and thank you. Dr. Grant and I are looking into the idea of digital writing and digital pen pal writing to see what the effects of that are and if it's the same as, you know, kind of paper pencil writing. Okay, you can pop your questions up there on the screen, or you can say them out loud. I'm happy to hear any discussion or answer any questions that you may have before we finish up. We have just about 3 or 4 minutes officially, but unofficially I'm here for the duration. Questions, comments, additives? Thinking.
If I were a faculty member who had never really used technology before, other than showing my
Projection.
slides, yeah.
Projection.
How would I start?
Pick one. That's the only way you can start. For example, take the categories we talked about today. Pick one category and then pick one tool within that category and try it. Just try it. That's the only thing you can do. Get to know the tool yourself first. Find some help. Call the Kate folks. Call me. Call somebody if you need some help getting started. And then use it one day in class. I promise you, the first day you use a Kahoot will be a life-changing day in your classroom. The engagement just totally starts to change in the room. But don't look at this and feel overwhelmed. Start with one, and then one turns into two, and two turns into three. And that really is the best way, is to start small. Pick one that you're interested with and move forward. We have lots of good resources here. We have a whole office that will help you with technology. Other questions, comments? I hope you do, Dr. Lights. I hope you do. All right, guys. If you need anything, let me know. If I can help you at all, let me know. I'm always happy to help, and so is the Kate office, so see them too.